Okay, we can begin with the talk. And I think this is something that I get asked so much. People have so many ideas about what enlightenment is. And why aren't I enlightened? Okay, so we're gonna get down to it. Yes. So it's super interesting to me. I meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds. Something that's interesting that I see nowadays is that people get into non-duality and expect to get it like boom, and that just to be the end of the story. And I can understand how that happens, because you watch all these people on YouTube and you just see and hear stories of how easy it can be for them. And and there can be lots of rejection. Whereas when I got into non-duality, I came from a Buddhist background, and I got taught that, to wake up in this lifetime was most probably impossible, and that it would take lifetimes, and that you're ebbing away at lifetimes of work. Now, there's problems in that way of speaking. I can see problems and qualities of all different ways of speaking, because that that creates such dramatic ideas in the mind. Okay, I'm going to be enlightened in a lifetime, it's not in this lifetime. And there's many different levels and layers to waking up as well. There's stream entrance, waking up, enlightenment, nirvana, and many, many more in between. There's thousands of different stages. The bodhisattva coming back to save other people, all types of different enlightenments. So when I got into non-duality, there wasn't this expectation that it was just going to happen. And I just wasn't in that mentality. It wasn't what attracted me to non-duality. I can imagine to some people that's attractive, like you go through all the different stages and then you find out that it's that it can be had like this, like it's just a shift in perception and boom, anyone can get it and it's available for anyone. Like that wasn't actually what attracted me to non-duality. What attracted me to non-duality is that when teachers spoke about it, my heart resonated. So it's actually like I felt the I amness or love resonating in my heart. So even though I wanted enlightenment and there was great desire for that, and I wanted to be free from suffering, and it was like a massive carrot dangling on a rod in front of me like a donkey, going after the carrot, it wasn't actually why I became interested in non-duality. It really was when teachers spoke, my heart came alive. It was just my heart resonated, not all the time, not 24/7, but every so often it would be like I knew what they were talking about on the tip of my tongue. And what I notice a lot in people coming into non-duality is their expectation of something being over really quickly creates immense frustration. And I normally see like a 2-3 year turnaround. So they get into it for maybe like 2-3 years. And then after it doesn't show any fruits or bear any fruits, even though it might have had an effect, but because it didn't have a dramatic fruit effect, then they move on. and kind of blame non-duality, really turn against non-duality, which is totally okay. Like, I'm not prescribing any way you have to think or see things, and if that's your experience, and then to totally reject non-duality, go for it. You've all got to live out your own path. But from my perspective, non-duality is really, in a way, surrendering everything. But it's not really your surrendering. There is a surrender that happens. And what that surrender is a shift from living in the story of you to living in what is. And why that can sound like a surrender for you is because it's almost like within the story of you, you lose interest in yourself. But not in a depression way, not in a way where you're laying in bed all the time and can't be bothered to do things. Not in a frustration, anger way. It's like a collapse. Like that is no longer seen as the means to get what you truly want. And really that can't be taught to someone. It's a seeming process that happens, but not anybody's process. So there's a process where the person becomes disenchanted with the belief that life can solve your problems, and that you can find a forever home, a forever freedom in the flow of life. This all fits in really well with depression, unfortunately. So speaking about this becomes difficult because it can easily become a validation for somebody's depression, suicidal thinking, somebody's apathy or entropy. No, not entropy. What is that word when people just get stuck? I forgot that word. It begins with an E. I keep trying to say it lately and I can't. When people just get stuck. So it sounds like validations for all of these things, but it's really not. It's an absolute falling in love with what is. So it's not depression, it's not ecstatic joy, it's not rejection, it's not you ignoring your mind, controlling your mind, taming your mind, becoming the perfect person, being able to do all sorts of spiritual backflips, knowing non-duality inside out, progressing. Like, it's none of those. Those happen along the seeming path, but it's actually a movement from that world to a freedom that's right here. So the human condition, the character, goes into the background, and what becomes present is what is, which is no thing and everything. Love. And this can be so unpopular to people because it's really not speaking to someone and speaking to someone on the level of what you do. And when the person, the character, the ego, whatever we call it, the illusion, feels very uncomfortable in itself and has had lots of gaslighting from society, from education system, from parents, from friends, and they're very confused as to what will bring them happiness, what they want is a strong message to follow. And actually that might make them more steady and calm. It might actually exacerbate the effects of gaslighting. It's unknown. Could have one or the other. And I'm not against making the character more calm. Like, that often is what precedes this, is making the character more calm. But it's very unattractive because it's not a path. And my teacher used to call it the pathless path. So there's no way to cognitize this subject. The mind thinks there is. So you get some intellects that come into this, and then they think the path is to dominate the intellectual world. And then I see on YouTube people arguing with the way I say it, or the way others say it. And so they see the path as dominating the intellect. And it's not dominating the intellect, it's not understanding this. And this is absolutely terrifying for the person, because the person, in a way, is here to become a better to become a better person. Even if it pretends it's not, even if it's trying to be a better no person, it's still a story in time. An abstraction of the mind. So this makes this message unpopular. I've noticed it can be popular if it comes with some form of clear know-how too. So if you get a teacher that's like kind of saying they can also take you to enlightenment, and they come across very confident and sure, this tends to be the more male teacher. They become across as very confident and very sure, and that's the way it is. And they sort of seem to have steps and processes to this, even though they break that down as well. Then that can be popular, but it's also dependent on the teacher having that personality type, because that's very attractive to a mind. But that doesn't mean don't do it. You see, this is where it's hellish for a person to listen to someone like me, because I'm not saying don't do that. Because actually, if that's what the urge feels like, then maybe that's the best thing to happen, because that's the urge that's coming up there, and maybe that has to be followed until it's seen to not be what you're looking for, or something collapses from that, like there's great insight and great relaxation in the person. It could be the other way though. It could be another stream of gaslighting which causes discomfort. The women teachers that tend to be very popular are women teachers that come across as motherly. Which is interesting. So with the women teachers that come across as motherly, or women teachers that do a lot more extreme non-duality. And I do have this theory as to why women teachers that do more extreme non-duality is because more extreme non-duality is more popular to men. And as a woman, you're going to be men are going to find it easier to listen to you because there's less competition and there's the attraction. It's the same the other way around, but we tend to beat women teachers up for that. But it's the same the other way around. The woman teacher, the male teacher to the woman, it's less competition, and then there's also the falling in love aspect as well. And it's not always the way. There's always people that break out of boundaries, and there's always lots of others, but I just see these tendencies. So I noticed that young women, and I was one of them, that tend to do more extreme non-duality. I do less extreme non-duality, that speak less about emotions, tend to do better because their audience is going to be male. And the male, or the more masculine side, is going to want to do something that's more intellectual, talking less about feelings. And then also the male will feel more comfortable, more than likely, with a teacher that's like younger, or in other ways the male can feel more powerful. You know, so not a woman that's just like all powerful. That would be too much. It's really interesting to see. This is just my opinion, and most probably I'm wrong. But why I speak about it, you see, that's very attractive to certain male people that are listening. The fact that I say I'm most probably wrong, because then they can be like, here, let me help you and tell you the way. So you can even see it part of my conditioning, but it's also part of the way I see things. Like, how can I ever know that I'm right when everything is always changing? But what I'm trying to point out is there's all these conditions of mind that are liking things about non-duality and disliking about non-duality. And I'm just trying to point out that that's not it. I suppose, in a way, there's maybe a part of me that has a tiny bit in a belief in it, is in the fact that the mind kind of runs itself out when it sees all its illusions. So as you become more clear about the illusions, so I suppose this is maybe one tiny path that I do have, is as you see your illusions, then there stops being a running to it. But I don't see it as you doing that, because you is the illusion. It's just that, you know, when the mind sees, okay, it's not in living on a desert island. And sometimes it has to come from experience rather than being told. But when the mind sees all these things, then there is some form of collapsing that's happening. Like this energy of this is it, this is it, this is it, like this energy of a fascination of thought, that my freedom is found in what I'm going to think about, whereas your freedom is found right here in this. Right here. It's not found in thought or any story or any mental contortions that you can do. And the interesting thing about mental contortions is you don't always realize you're doing them, because it takes another mental contortion to work out that you're doing a mental contortion. And then there's a dropping away, and then there's this, and then the mind is like, oh, I'm gonna die, I must think something. She's wrong. She's bad. Oh God, I thought something, thank fuck. I thought I was gonna die. Oh God, I still exist. I still exist. But who do I exist as? Who is she? Oh fuck. Oh fuck. This is it. I'm gonna die. I must think something. I must think something. Oh, I hate this about non-duality. Oh yes, thank fuck. I'm thinking something again. Oh yes, I hate the fact that she swears. That means that she's definitely talking shit. Oh yes, because only sexually repressed women swear. Oh fuck, thank fuck, I am thinking again. I exist as something. I am here. And then there's a collapse again. The world begins to shake. There's no thought happening. You begin to dissolve into silence. All there is everything. And then the mind is like, oh fuck, I'm dying. I must think again. Oh, I need to go to the toilet. Oh, yes, relaxing. I need to go to the toilet. I've thought about something. I've also thought that the problem that I have, the reason that I'm unhappy is because I'm living in the wrong city, and the energy of the city is really bad, and therefore it's making me unhappy. And that is the problem why I'm not enlightened and why I'm unhappy. Oh, good. Well, we've worked it out. Yeah, here we are. Here we are. I'll just go to the toilet. Off I go to the toilet. I come back. I sit and listen. I begin to die. No thoughts arise. It begins to like open up. Oh, the world shakes. And then the mind thinks, oh, fuck, I'm dying. Fuck, I must come back as something. Non-duality is wrong. It's definitely wrong. It is definitely wrong. The right way to enlightenment is definitely the Eightfold Path. Yeah. And these thoughts that you have, so say maybe the thought comes up that your unhappiness is that you're living in the wrong city. And if you move to another city, you're going to have lots of friends that are like-minded. So if that thought comes up, then, you know, in the workflow of things, you might be happier in another city, but that's not what's being talked about here. That's not non-duality. That happiness that you think you'll find in another city isn't non-duality. Non-duality is talking about the silence of what is, of where everything comes from. That this is it. This is the freedom that is sought. This, what's happening, not something else. Not something that's a future bound or found in thought. Go and listen for fun to a non-duality teacher that really annoys you. Just for fun, just to see the thoughts that come up. You'll learn so much about yourself. Because it doesn't mean that your character, I'm not implying that your character is going to like every teacher that comes on the scene. There's ones that I prefer to not, to others. I'm not talking about becoming some blank muppet, but it's just that I can see, what it is I don't like about other teachers in relationship to this character. And it doesn't mean that's ever going to change. It's just seeing the illusion of it. Seeing that none of what you think is true. It's just a perspective. It's just brain activity. So there's certain male teachers and female teachers that I don't like. And this didn't used to be the way, it's changed. I don't like teachers that are too know-it-all and too spiritual. And you can just see it as part of the character. Like, the spiritual reminds me of goody two-shoes at school, which I wasn't ever. And they always used to grass on me because I wasn't ever up to mischief. I just couldn't not do mischief. It was like I couldn't remember to keep my laces tied or to pack my locker correctly or to do my homework. It wasn't I was trying to do mischief. I just couldn't help it because of my way of being. And then you get the tales. And the ones that are really spiritual remind me of that. It's like the goody two-shoes in class, which I'm not complaining about. I can also get on with goody two-shoes, but it reminds me of that, where we all have to sit straight. Why do we have to sit straight? Why do we have to go to school every day? It's just the nature of my mind. It's super open-minded, and it just doesn't see like the belief in things. It doesn't mean that I don't conform and I don't sit up straight or I'm quiet in certain places. It's not talking about non-conformity in the moment. I'm not trying to disrupt people, but I just can see my mind will just keep breaking down barriers. So those that were very strong rule keepers, I wanted them to ask why, and they were, shh, why, shh, there is no why. So that's one. So that's an old personality thing. But the know-it-all is from years and years of being attracted to know-it-alls. Having partners that were very know-it-alls and friends that were very know-it-alls, because I tend to be very attracted to high intelligent people. And And now there's just preferring to listen to those that proclaim with pride and with honesty they don't know it all. You know, I don't know if I recommending yoga to someone, if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It might be good, but for some people yoga's not good. The same with meditation. So ones that declare like, this is the right way. Yeah. So there's an enjoyment of that. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything. There is no thought which has truth, and there's no thought worth going to war for. Thoughts are thoughts. They're nothing. They're nothing compared to yourself, which is beingness. Right now, this alive presence. Yeah, okay. We can move to questions now. If you've got a question in the Lisa's channel that's streaming, I think there's only 4 people in there, but you can go to my channel in Telegram and you can put your hand up and you can ask me live, but you will be, your voice will be broadcasted onto the YouTube. So, but I can not call you by your name so people can't recognize that onto the YouTube. Alternatively, you can ask questions in the written Telegram group. There's also Lisa Cairns questions, so you can write questions there. Yes. And I just want to thank everybody for the support over the years and the community that's created. Like, I don't get to meet or see any of you most probably ever. But I so appreciate sharing this with you every week. Like, I love to speak about this subject in a very pure way. You know, and by most of society, this is completely rejected. You can't speak about this. You just can speak about stories. And here I get to speak with a community of people about something I'm so passionate about, and which saved my life as well. And when I speak about it in a very pure form, I get really blissed out. When I speak about emotions and, you know, working on the chakras, I'm happy to do that because it really helped me. I'm working on the person. But it doesn't have the same effect as when I speak about non-duality. When I speak about non-duality and stay focused on that, it's so blissful. Yeah. So I really appreciate the community that have formed. You know, I recognize that there is a bulk amount of people that keep watching every week, and I really appreciate speaking to you, even if I never meet you. I appreciate it, because if nobody listened, I doubt this would happen. You know, I just came on YouTube with nobody listening every week. And there's something, I don't know, it works for me. You know, when I record a non-live video, it doesn't have the same effect. There's something about the energy, even though I don't meet you, there's an energy, a receptivity that's happening. Yeah. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. And you. Yeah. And love you, even though I've never met you. But not in a romantic way. I just have to correct that because of I don't know how honest I should be with you about the trouble that I have sometimes with inappropriate people. And some people that are maybe a bit delusional could then think that I'm sending them messages that I'm in love with them through the internet. I'm sure you can get the picture of what happens sometimes. Especially because my heart is really open and I really do have this loving energy. If somebody's delusional and really alone and really suffering and maybe a drug addict or something, and they've got no family, no friends to speak to, and then I do these talks every week and it feels like it's such a personal thing, and I seem really happy, which is maybe something they're longing for. And maybe if they're a drug addict, sometimes they feel that sometimes when they're taking the drugs, then they might think there's a relationship, a personal relationship building. And then you can imagine why I begin to get problems where I have to put up more security, which is super sad to me because I don't want to do that. I want it to be free and available for everybody. Like, I've done this for 12 years without charging money for it, with trying to keep it open to people, trying to make it so anyone can speak. But you can imagine over the years, you know, the build-up from the other side. You know, I might never have met the person, but they've formed a very strong relationship and maybe had many conversations with me inside their head, which happens. I used to have conversations with Ramesh and my teachers inside my head. But then if there's also a history of delusion there, or drug or alcohol abuse, then it can get into other levels of things, which then begin to affect my personal safety. Yeah. But back to the other point, like I just so appreciate sharing with you, and I do love you, but I just have to add in, not a personal way. This isn't a romantic, I'm in a happy long-term relationship. That will never transpire, that other imagining, if it appears. But yeah, I wish I could just freely say I love you without the idea of it being misinterpreted, but I know that it does get misinterpreted because it's so beautiful. You know, from the place of beingness, that is what's there. Absolute love for everything.